Today on The Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly, we're going to take a look at the Vignette Blur filter found in NIK Color Efex, part of NIK Collection 7. Stay tuned. Hello everyone and welcome to The Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly. I'm pulling out NIK Color Efex. Today we're going to work with the Vignette Blur filter found in Color Efex, part of NIK Collection 7. I have 3 different examples to show you. I have this flower image. This is great for flower images, adding a little blur around the edges. I have this image and this image. So we're going to check it out on all 3 of these images. This video shouldn't be too long. This filter is not that hard to use, but it's very effective, and I think you'll like it. By the way, if you don't yet own the NIK Collection or you want to try a free trial, I have affiliate links in the description below this video. Just click on that link. If you purchase any DxO products, I make a small commission, and this helps support my channel. So when you use my affiliate link, I really appreciate it, and I thank you for it. Let's go ahead and dive right in. Now I'm working from the NIK Collection 7 palette. If yours isn't open, come up here to File in Photoshop, go down to Automate and look for NIK Collection 7 palette. Click on that and your palette will open up. And inside this palette, you will see all the different NIK Collection 7 filters here. I'm going to click on NIK 7 Color Efex and we'll launch it and get started. Now, the first thing I like to do as soon as I get into Color Efex is you see this checkbox right here for Convert to Smart Object. I always like to check that on. That means whenever you send this image back into Photoshop, it will be a smart object, meaning you could come back into NIK Color Efex and make some readjustments on the image and then send that back into Photoshop. So it's a really nice addition to your Photoshop workflow when you're using NIK Color Efex. One of the things I really love about NIK Color Efex is we have so many great filters in here. There's a lot. And now with NIK Collection 7, we have a search bar here, so I could type in Vignette to find all the Vignette filters. And you can see right here, we have Vignette Filter, we have Vignette Blur, and we have Vignette Lens. If you haven't tried out search yet, give it a try because it'll really make finding filters easy for you. And today we want to use Vignette Blur, so I'll click on Vignette Blur. And we can see over on the right-hand side of the interface, there's the filter with a beautiful blur right around this flower image, which really, sets it apart from just a basic image. So if I shut off the Vignette Blur, you can see that's what it looks like without it, and this is what it looks like with it. With just that one filter, it really spruces up this image in my opinion. But now let's look to the right side of the interface and see what our adjustments are over here. Now we have various sliders here, one for transition, size, and opacity. And then we have a drop down for shape and type. Let's look at shape first. I'll click on this drop down. Now you can just hover over these different shapes here. If I hover over 1, that is a circle shape. If I hover over shape number 2, this is an oval shape, and shape number 3 is a rectangle shape. And for this image, I think I like a circle shape, so I'm going to click on shape 1. And then we have type, different types of blur. And I'm going to click on this drop down. Now we're on type 1. As you can see, it's a basic blur. Let's go to type 2. It's a blur, but it gives it some lightening effect. And now here's number 3. It's more of a, maybe a darker blurring effect. And then number 4 is a dreamy, very light effect. And sometimes this one can be very useful if you want to get a little more artistic. But I think for this image, I would settle for type number 1. And then, of course, we can adjust the size of that vignette. Give it less vignette, give it more vignette. And I think somewhere right around there is good. Now we can pull back on the opacity of the overall vignette, depending how much you want, but I think I like it up full in this image. And then we can adjust the transition, how that vignette blends into the image. So that's transition basically off, and then we can blend it in, and maybe somewhere right around here looks pretty good. Now let's see a before and after. I can uncheck Vignette Blur right here and see the before, check it back on, see the after, or right here where it says compare, left click and hold, you can see the before and there's the after. And then you could do a split compare or a side compare. But that's all I want to do. And then you could work with luminosity masking and so forth. I'm not going to do that on this image. But if you wanted to, you could come over here and add a lot more different filters to this image if you want to. But today I'm only working with Vignette Blur. And at this point, I'm ready to send this back into Photoshop. So I'll just click on Apply, and that'll send us back into Photoshop. And as you can see, it is a smart filter, so just double click on NIK 7 Color Efex to send yourself back into Color Efex, and then you can retweak it or add more filters on it, whatever you want to do. But now let's look at this image. Now for this image, I'm thinking a vignette blur would be nice to isolate the person from the steps, giving it a nice, dreamy, more artistic look. So let's try that. We'll come back to the NIK Collection 7 palette, click on NIK Color Efex. Let's come over to the left side of the interface. This time I'm going to drag down because all of these filters are in alphabetical order, and we know V is near the bottom of the list. So here is my vignette blur. Let me click on this. Not bad, but let's check out our options. Okay, so right now for shape, it defaults at shape number 2, which is the oval shape. I'm going to try the circular shape. I think I like the circular shape. And then here is the rectangle shape. Now, I don't like that as much. I'm going to go with the circle shape. And now for type. Let's see our different types here. Let's click the drop down. This is type 1. This is type 2. I don't like that. It's dreamy. This is type 3. I do like this because it's a little darker, a little edgier. This is kind of a edgy picture. And then the last type is this one where it's light. And I don't like it on this one. So I think I like type number 3 for this. And now let's place the center, because right now it defaults in the center of the image. So let's click this right here. And what I'll do is click right on the face. And I think that's going to be good right there. Now, of course, we can adjust the size of the vignette. Maybe, I don't know, maybe right about there. I think that looks pretty good. And of course, we can adjust the opacity, but I like it up full on this image. And the transition, let's check it out. And I think I'm going to take the transition the whole way up. Now, let me uncheck Vignette Blur. Here's before and here's after. And I like it. I think it really adds to the edgy look of this image. Now, I almost forgot to check on Convert to Smart Object in case I need to come back in and retweak. So I'm going to check that on and click Apply, and that'll send us back into Photoshop. Now that I'm back in Photoshop, I'm thinking I might like just a basic vignette around here. So what I'll do is double click on NIK 7 Color Efex, send us back into NIK Color Efex, and drag the slider the whole way down to the bottom to where my vignettes are, and I will click the plus to add another filter, and I'm just adding a little dark vignette around the entire image. And the opacity is way too much, so let me really just pull back on this opacity and maybe add just a little bit of a vignette, and let me check this transition here. And I think I want a lot of transition, so right there at 100%. And maybe just pull back in the opacity a little bit more to right there. Let me shut off the Vignette Filter. Here's before and here's after. And I think I like that. I'm going to go ahead and click Apply. And now here we are back in Photoshop. So let me shut off the Color Efex layer. Here's before and here's after. And I like it. I think that looks really cool. I have one more example for you. Let me click on this image and I'll click on NIK 7 Color Efex. We'll go back into Color Efex. Again, we're going to go with Vignette Blur. I'm just going to drag this down to the bottom, click on Vignette Blur. And let's see, what kind of a shape do I want? We always default with that oval shape, which I think is going to be good for this image. Here is the circle. Here is the square, or rectangle, I should say. I think I'm going to go with the oval. And now we have types here. This is type 1, the standard blur, which is pretty cool. Here's type 2, a little bit lighter and dreamier. I kind of like that. Here's type 3, a little darker. Don't like it as much on this one. And here's the last one, a little more lighter, more of a high key look, I guess you could say, which isn't that bad. And what I may do is work with the center. So let me click this button. And I might place the center maybe right about here. Now let's try that again. Maybe right around where it was right here. I think that is good right there. Now, do I want that very light vignette like this, or do I want this one? Well, I think I like this one. And I think right there looks pretty good. Now, we could try pulling back in the opacity, but I think I like it up full. I think that looks really dreamy, and I think it really suits this image. And of course, we could adjust the size if we want to, but I think everything is good, and the transition looks good for me. And I almost forgot again to click on Convert to Smart Object. So I'll click that on just in case I'm not happy with this and I need to come back. So for now, I'm going to click Apply and send us back into Photoshop. And here we are in Photoshop. Let me shut this layer off. Here's before and here is after. And I like it. And don't forget, you also have opacity for the layer itself. So if you click right here, we can drag back on this layer opacity and let some of the original image show through if you want. But in this case, I think I like it up at 100% layer opacity. So we started out with this image here. This was the before. Really cool flower image, and this is after. But I think the blur really adds to it. And then we had this image. I'll shut off the blur we added. It started out here, and now we end up here. Pretty cool, a nice change, all with some vignette blur and a little bit of basic vignette around the edges. And then this image right here, it started out looking like this, and now it looks like this. And I like all of these. This was a lot of fun, and you got to give the Vignette Blur filter a try. It's a great filter, and it's easy to use, and you could get some really nice results with it. Well, there it is, everyone. That was the Vignette Blur filter found in NIK Color Efex, part of NIK Collection 7. If you enjoyed today's tutorial, please give it a like and share it with your friends. If you're not yet a subscriber to my channel, please subscribe. Click that bell notification icon. Click all so that you'll receive all notifications. And then every time I upload a new tutorial, you'll get notified about it. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me today in the Joy of Editing with Dave Cully. I'll see you all right here next time, but until then, happy editing.